You don't need any more confidence. You need courage.
Yes, have you seen an overly confident man? Disaster.
Yes.
Welcome back to Kind Culture with Alex and Dydine.
Mm-hmm. Episode 3.
Yes, on this beautiful morning on Monday.
Yeah.
Most of us don't really like Mondays.
No, Mondays aren't very popular.
When I was in school, or when I worked 9 to 5, Mondays were my nightmares.
Yeah.
Yes,
We're talking to the people currently inside their car right now.
I know.
On the way to their 9 to 5 jobs.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's all right.
Okay.
Listen,
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, if you're going to work and you feel like you wanted to have a long weekend, you're not alone. You're not alone. A whole world of people.
Yeah, we're all working.
Feeling exactly like you.
We're all working. We all feel it. But we hope that our voices and this message can lighten up your day. It can brighten up your commute to work or wherever you're headed.
Absolutely. And we do this on Mondays.
Yeah.
Kind Culture on Mondays, so that at 6 a.m. so that you can have a boost of energy listening to our podcast as you go to work, as you're starting your week. We hope we can be that. Yeah. That light.
Yeah, that little light, that little pick me up.
Yeah,
if you're gonna drink some coffee, listen to some Kind Culture podcast with Alex and Dydine.
Yeah. We talk about a lot of fun stuff about kindness and what it is for us, what it is for other people, and what it is for the world, for our community.
Yes, and how we can cultivate it and make it a more regular thing in our day-to-day lives.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And today's episode is more exciting because we're talking about why embracing your own story can be a life changer. It can change your life, it can change your community, it can change the entire world. Because you're embracing who you are, you're embracing your own story. Yeah, I mean,
and it's an act of kindness to yourself.
Yes.
To examine that and to embrace it and to do your best to not run away from it.
Oh yeah, they when I moved to Los that's you already authentic self. You're just being existing. So I didn't realize that you can go through life without knowing who you truly who you truly excuse me
truly
who you truly are.
Yeah.
And so you be your authentic self. It can bring a lot of peace in you.
Yeah.
It can bring a lot of peace in your heart.
For sure.
Because we are unique, we are special. Each individual brings something on the table in our own, existence in the universe.
Yes.
Yeah. And so realizing that you don't have to shy away from yourself, you don't have to shrink yourself to be able to fit in a community, or to forget who you are just because you may think that who you are or won't be accepted. It can hurt you.
Yes, it can hurt you, and it can cut you off from the things that I think are most important in your life or in life in general. And I think that's part of being human, right?
Yes.
Is sifting through all of the BS, all the imperfection, all the trauma, all the whatever it is, to find that core of yourself and to be able to latch onto it.
Yes, absolutely.
And make it something that's real and something that's present in your life. But it's challenging though.
It is. It's challenging.
It's kind of
to work on.
Yes, it's a kind of a big ask.
Yeah.
Because it's not a simple thing.
No.
It's asking you to face certain areas of your life that you're terrified of, you're afraid of.
Yes.
The skeletons in our closets.
Oh God. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it doesn't mean you have to conquer it.
No.
This isn't necessarily like you have to feel completely on top and completely in control all the time, because you're not going to be in control all the time. That's another aspect of being a human. You're never going to be in control all 100% of the time. But if you take the steps to at least welcome the conversation with yourself and just to explore some of those discomforts that you may be having, that ultimately is an act of kindness that you can do for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I concur.
Oh, you concur.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I think it's good to tap into ourselves and just, meet ourselves.
Yeah.
Meet ourselves. And that and embrace that we change, we grow, we evolve.
Yeah, and that's actually a really important thing to understand as well, because, and I guess I can speak for myself in this instance, we like to hold on to moments in our lives that bring us the most happiness. A lot of us hold on to things in our childhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you were a wondrous child a lot of times, and you had nothing but excitement to look forward to. You didn't know what you didn't know, so you just had these idealized visions of what life could be like, will be like. And a lot of times that was some of our happier moments in life. Not the happiest necessarily, but some of our happier.
But simple things made you joyful.
Yes, simple things absolutely made you joyful. But as we grow up, we forget some of those things, and we mistake those lessons, those things that we learned as children, as like the absolute truth. Now, I know I spoke about this like in the last episode about to trust children, and that stands. You should trust children and be able to connect with children, because I have a very, I think, ancient wisdom in life, and that just it keeps things light and in perspective. In perspective, right? Yeah. But what I mean is that you are like me. I'm 30 years old. Yes. Right. In 3 days.
Almost. Happy early birthday, by the way.
Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That's so nice.
I'm nice.
So kind.
I'm kind.
I might cry.
No. Oh my God. Yeah.
But what I mean here is that it would not serve me to hold on to 16-year-old Alex and a lot of those things. Even if it brought me happiness, it's not necessarily where I am in my life.
No,
now.
and even if it brought you pain.
Yeah.
Like you're not your past. Like whatever that has happened yesterday, it already happened. You can go back and change it.
That's juicy. This
is
all stuff
you
that we
can go
get
back
into.
And change it. The only thing you can change is today, right now, and the trajectory of your future. Yeah. But if you are hung up on what brought you joy yesterday and what brought you pain yesterday, you put your life on hold.
Yeah, you do.
You put your life on hold, and
you're trying to reach for that same thing.
Yeah. And have you called a customer service and they put you on hold for a long time? Do you know how that feels?
That's frustrating.
Yes. So you don't want to do that to your own life, to put yourself on hold, just being stuck on the past. It's not easy, but it's something to have in mind whenever, the past comes back. The triggers and all those stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm no therapist, but from personal experience.
No, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Personal experience, it's really, really important to remember, okay, that happened. It's already happened. I can go back. Yeah. But what I do with it today, that's what matters. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I think about like high school or like some of my formative years and when things were confusing, but I think the emotions during that time were very palpable, very strong. Yeah. And sometimes we can sort of look back in those times and look at them with sort of rose-colored glasses. Yeah. So with the American high school experience, you have the lockers, you have the hallways, you got the hundreds and hundreds or thousands and thousands of students. Yeah. Just packed the hallways, got to squeeze through to get to the class. Sometimes you're late, sometimes you don't. In my mind now, I call them empty hallways and forgotten memories. A little sad, but the hallway in my mind, I'm like, okay, I think back to the high school times. Those hallways are now empty because all the people I went to high school with are now out of high school. Yeah. They're all near 30. Yeah. And forgotten memories because it's been 10 plus years since I've been in high school. Completely different people. Most people don't remember how they were in high school specifically.
Yes. Do you know how
they remember the emotions?
High school years are? Yes.
Yes. Yes. So that's something that I sort of latch onto in that when I find myself drifting aloof kind of to the past. I'm like, well, it's not real anymore.
No.
So Dydine, do you have any insight to share on realizing your own true self and being kind to yourself in your own experiences, your own stories? Do you have anything that you'd like to share with us?
I think when I realized that my story had power to not only change my life, but also to change my surroundings, to change the people around me, I've always knew that my country had a story. I've always knew that. Just being born in Rwanda, you've seen whenever we mention that I'm from Rwanda, the people's faces. It's their demeanor changes. And so I've always known that history was abnormal and it was kind of shocking to everyone. And so I've known that. But what I didn't really take into consideration was that my experience in a genocide was unique, or was a story to tell.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've always thought, I've always kind of looked at my life experiences growing up in Rwanda post-genocide as, everyone, all my friends. I mean, you've known a lot of my friends here in the US, but even my friends back home, most of them had suffered way, way more than I had.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've always felt, my friends have a story. I don't have a story. My story is nothing. I didn't even think I just thought my story was, I was one of the privileged ones.
And that's okay. Yeah. So that's because you felt like I came away from,
I kind of came out of the genocide
with more than a lot of people
did have.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've lost a lot of people, lot of people. But from a child point of view, both my parents were still alive. And a lot of my friends, they
still had
no one, all their siblings, both parents, or some of them just one parent. And that even you consider that luck as a privilege. And so me having both parents, it felt like a privilege. And I didn't feel like my story was important or had, what I was going through was, anything special.
Yeah. So
just being surrounded by pain everywhere. And so I kind of put everything inward. So and not realizing that I was suppressing all the things that I was going through, or my family was going through, and that created more damage, more pain.
Yes.
And not even because when you don't recognize that you are going through something that you need help for, you don't even realize that some of your behaviors or your characters, it's not really you.
No. I mean, it's coming from that place of hurt that facade.
Yeah, that means
mask you wear.
Yeah, so it means you're not really doing your community or your country or your world a favor. No, because you don't know who you actually are. It's like, I think it's very interesting when you recognize, oh, I have a story. I've been through something. I need, maybe there is a side of me that I haven't been able to visit, and be curious about it. Because I got very curious about me, who have healed from all the things that I went through, who have tolerated all the things that I've been through, me who have, tolerated my life experience.
Yeah.
And just see it as not something that is meant to kind of cripple me for the rest of my life.
So what about the people who carry the things that they experienced during genocide or any hardship, like the survivors who don't speak about it publicly?
Yeah. When you survive something and you talk about it, you go there, you go back there. Every time you bring it up or somebody brings it up, your whole body, everything goes back to that moment.
Yeah.
So you kind of re-traumatizing yourself if it's not a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, I guess, growing up back home, you kind of were surrounded by everyone who's hurt. And, like we've said this on the Kind Culture podcast, hurt people. Yeah. And so when you're all hurt, you don't even know when you're hurting each other.
Yeah.
Because you all, you have these internal fights within ourselves. So a lot of survivors don't even know where to begin. Mm. Like, where do I begin? Like, who I tell? How do I tell it? Like, there's a lot of these questions that come to mind. Also, like, you have women who went through rape, like one of our friend, our friend Consola, who comes here often. She's one of the super women that I know who's able to share her story.
Yeah.
But that's a risk.
It is a risk.
Yes. So
it's dangerous.
It is. Yes, it's very
up here. It's dangerous
mentally, because you own your story. You try to work on your healing. You own your story, and then you're going to share it to the world so that it can shed a light to somebody else's life. Yeah. So it's a risk. It's a lot of work, and not all survivors are able to get to that point.
No.
Especially when like, for me, for my book, when it came out, I knew it was a risk. I was going to be writing about personal things. I thought I was the only one going through that, what I was going through. Did not know that it's something that other people go through. Domestic violence, surviving genocide, all these things. And having a father that had PTSD. And then write about it. And I knew that, especially when I moved here, there was I heard a lot about people with PTSD, a lot of domestic violence. And I'm like, that's not a unique story. There's a lot of people go through that.
Yep.
But for me, by writing my story, by putting it down, I understood that it would change my life. What way? I didn't know. I didn't know what direction it was gonna go, but I knew that I was exposing. It's almost like you feel naked.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so you're on stage.
Yeah.
Naked.
Yeah.
And you're just presenting yourself.
Yes.
For people to be like,
this is me. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And you don't know how people are going to take it, because at times you might be poking someone who has been going through the same thing, but ashamed or doesn't want the world to know. And then they're like, oh, this person is putting our story out there.
Yes.
Because they take it personal as well. And so it's a very interesting thing, because I always say surviving is one thing, but after surviving, it's another thing.
Totally different thing.
And so being able to get to the point where you can share your story unapologetically and just embrace who you are, for me, it was one of the most therapeutic things I've ever done.
That kind of reminds me, when you're in school, going back to the schooling analogies, is when you're in class and then the professor asks the class a question, and then people are afraid to put their hands up.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I don't want to sound stupid. Yeah. Like, if I have a question, or if I knew the right answer or whatever. And then there's the one brave person or the couple brave people that put their hands up, and they're like, oh, okay. So they had the same question. I didn't feel as dumb as I originally thought. Yeah. And so that you wrote your book, and what you have done for people, for fellow survivors, you've sort of like put your hand up. Yeah, and exposed a vulnerability.
You're not alone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why when I'm like, that's one of the things I learned, was that when you put your hand up like that, you allow everyone else to free themselves to share their stories.
Right.
You have no idea how many people that have. I mean, you come with me to a lot of my talks. They have come to me and share things that are
super personal
and super deep, and I feel so honored every moment that I can create that space, that safe space, and that person feels safe enough to open up. So I feel like the the healing journey really begins when you can say things out loud.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. When you can say out loud, even if you say in the mirror,
then it's real.
It's real.
These feelings are definitely not unique, and all it takes sometimes is for one person to be brave enough to share whatever,
to raise a hand,
to share whatever's going on, and that encourages other people to do the same.
People, I think we might have said this in our previous podcast, but vulnerability is strength. Mm-hmm. Vulnerability is strength. It's the kind of armor, like iron. Armor.
Yeah, but it's almost like what's that phrase? It's not an oxymoron, is it? No, maybe, I don't know. But it's like you wouldn't think that being vulnerable, that's like the act of taking off armor or putting down walls. No. But in actuality, it's a true strength, and it has its own. Oh yeah. Armor.
Yeah. The moment you become vulnerable, the moment you become authentic to yourself, your life changes. The moment you embrace the ugliness part of you, the beautiful parts of you, your life changes.
Yeah. Some people focus so much on the ugly that they're incapable of seeing the beauty. Yeah. You say embracing the beautiful parts. Some people will be like, "Oh, there are no beautiful parts. There's only ugly. I've only ever experienced ugly." Yeah. That's not true. It's just that we get so caught up and hung up on the ugly and the pain that we forget that, oh, yes, I am a beautiful human being as well.
Yes. Anyway, so I'm going to read.
Please read.
Anyway, to close this segment with Dydine Munyana.
Yep.
I'll read a segment, and I will read a paragraph in Embracing Survival about why we should be sharing our stories. All right. So, there might be a shadow in your life. I do not know what your personal tragedy might be, but I want to tell you that whatever happened has happened. What matters is what you do now and what you do next. Our individual light can become so bright that in our presence, darkness disappears. I have learned that we cannot do for others what we cannot do for ourselves. By nourishing the light within ourselves, we find strength we never knew was there. Thank you. It's my gift to the world. Thank you.
That's nice. Thank you for reading that. I'm thinking about my own personal experiences and the trials and tribulations I've had, sharing and opening up and acknowledging who I am. But also the challenge of actually figuring out who I am throughout childhood and early 20s and all the tumultuous times of our lives as we grow up and, figure out who we are. It's inspiring to me hearing you read that excerpt, because it's, like you said, it's a very strong reminder
it is.
Of how important it is to share the stories and to... you owe it to yourself to be your best self, your best and brightest self.
Yes.
And that includes acknowledging the pain and acknowledging the faults and the mistakes and all the screw ups that we've had and the embarrassments. And so, like I said before, it's easier. It's a lot of times it's very easy to focus in on the negative and focus in on the traumatic experiences. I think back, like I think it said like you can get 9 compliments and 1 critique, but you only remember the 1 critique. Yep. And it's like, well, all these other people are singing your praises, but the one person who has something negative to say, then it ruins your entire day. And that, like, you multiply that by years and years and years, you get all of these negative comments. You start to focus in on that, and you would start to think that you are only 90%. Right. And you then think that your whole life is just full of critique and pain and misery. And it's like, well, what happened to those thousands and thousands of compliments that you've received about, and, and positive feedback. Yeah. Because a lot of times the critique is feedback. Yeah. But we will focus. I did that a lot as well, as when people give me some type of feedback. I would take it personal and be like, okay, well, I'm terrible at this. Like, they don't like this and that and this about me. It's not the case. It's not the case. And so when you focus in on that, it can be a distraction. The negativity can be a distraction. And it can be very, very scary to share your own personal stories.
Yeah.
So with acting and filmmaking, that's one avenue that I found that it absolutely requires you to be truthful.
Yes.
Even you're playing a different character, but you have to bring truth to that.
Yes.
And a lot of times, however you prepare,
out there to be seen.
Yes, and it's terrifying. Even now, like every film or whatever I do, commercial, it's scary.
Yeah,
it's scary because it's asking me to be vulnerable.
Yes,
in front of like a crowd of people.
Yeah, and they all have an opinion.
Everybody has an opinion. Ultimately, they're just trying to get the shot so they can move on to the next whatever. But it's still a little scary. When you're on stage, I think that's a little bit more intimate in that it's just ongoing. It's ongoing, and you have to commit to it. You have to then step into that literal limelight and be vulnerable. And you're gonna screw up. Yes. You might flip a line. Yeah. And the worst part, like an actor, you lose sleep over the idea that you might like go up on stage and freeze. Yeah. Just completely lose your sense of like, what is going on here? Like, I don't remember my next line. And it's embarrassing, that idea. Yeah. Everybody's had it before. That's always happened. But that has always taught me to do my best to be as present as I can with myself, with the faults, and be kind with you, the faults. And it's okay. It's yes. And so like, again, with the 9 compliments, 10, or the 10th is the complaint or whatever, the critique, that would be like on stage, 9 people come up to you after the show and say, "Oh my God, you were amazing. What you did with this character, I've never seen it before. Yeah. Oh my God."
And then that one guy will come up and be, you could work on this.
Or really, it's not even that, because a lot of people won't even say that you're like bad to your face. They just won't give you a praise, and they might avoid you. Yeah. And so you're thinking, that person didn't like what I did. And so your mind is then thinking on this one person who just didn't sing your praises, or at least didn't appreciate something that you did. And so that's a part of it. That's a part of living.
Yeah, it is.
And so I read something as well. Yeah. In that, I wish I remembered the man's name, but it was a quote. The guy said, "You don't need any more confidence. You need courage."
Yes, have you seen an overly confident man? Disaster.
Yes. But in this case, it's like, you may think that in order to live your life, in order to do the things that you want to do, you just need to have all the confidence in the world, because you see this person on TV, that person on social media, they have these gregarious, these massive personalities, and you're like, okay, I just need to build up to that. No. I think Carrie Fisher also said something along the lines of like, I feel fear, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yes. Fear usually means, I remember when the first time I did my first talk ever, I was terrified. I was so scared. Yeah. And Phil, my American dad, he sat me down and said, "Well, Dydine, this, nobody knows what you prepared. But also know that this fear you have right now, this fear right now, it's good. Yeah. It means you care."
Yeah, absolutely. That's true.
And I think that changed. That changed. So whenever I feel like I have like fear, my heart is gonna stop about the thing I'm about to do. Like if I'm going on a big stage, I'm going to interact with people that I'm feeling like they're, whatever. I'm terrified. Yeah. But it's because I care.
It's because you care. That's 100% correct.
And so it kind of makes it more of a positive.
Yeah, they say that excitedness and anxiety are 2 sides of the same coin.
Oh God!
And so if you feel anxious about something, oh my God, I'm so scared, blah blah blah. Just flip that coin in your mind. Right. In your mind,
it's then because I care about it.
Yeah, it's because I care about this, and I'm excited. Yeah. So I'm just gonna do as best as I can. Yeah. But yes, to close out my point here is that acting and filmmaking has taught me, and it's an ongoing journey. Again, it's not like I've reached the destination, because what is the destination?
The journey.
The journey, exactly. But it's taught me to be present with myself and to trust the work that I've done beforehand. Absolutely. And just throw it out there and see, you know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, so what? That's a learning experience for you. But it doesn't mean that it's not scary in the moment, especially beforehand. It's actually easier once you're actually doing it. The first time they say action, you might might get scared. Cut! Oh my God. Alex, what are you doing? You know your lines? And you're like, yeah, I know my lines, And then you pick it up, take two, you know, it just gets easier from there. But it's the prep and it's the buildup that will, that can psych you out. And so I think that there's a good connection there with how you live your life, and that try not to overthink things and try to remember that you do have beauty and strength within you that you can cultivate and carry. Yes, ma'am. Being present or being present with that person.
Yeah, being present. That's, and, you know, encouraging them. I think words, you know, create. So we have a little special segment at the end of each episode, and we call it Angels on Earth. And this is because what all of us have received some kind of kindness, small or big, or we have given it to other people, and so we want to create. We want to have this space to highlight those stories. And today, we have a very cute story we're going to share of a friend who was listening to.
It's nice.
Talking about children's wonder and
well, happy birthday, Ineza.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ineza. Happy birthday. You share the same birthday.
Oh, we're birthday twins. Okay.
Yeah, your birthday twins.
Cool. Yes. Right on.
Yes. So we loved hearing this from this little beautiful girl.
Yeah.
And let's share more stories of kindness.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's spread it. Let's spread it around the world, because there are a lot of kind people. There's a lot of good things happening.
There is we
just need to shift.
Yes. What's the word opposite of surplus? I don't know. I'll put it up on the screen. But there is a definite need for kindness. And these stories of being vulnerable and being courageous to being vulnerable, because it all leads back to being kind, not only to yourself, but to the world at large. And anyone who can and will come into contact with you can benefit greatly from that.
Yes.
So yeah, it's in this conversation. This one really, for whatever reason, I can't really point to a particular point, but I got me emotional a little bit, and then just making me think about how we can all sort of be better versions of ourselves, and how we can share ourselves and our stories, and it ultimately just leads to good things. It's just scary.
It is.
And that's where the courage comes into play.
Yes, we need to encourage one another. And I hope this podcast will encourage more people to be kind.
I hope so
too. To go out there and be kind.
I hope so too.
To go out there and hug more people, smile at more people, and be kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
Be kind to yourselves. How you feel inside, that's how you're going to treat other people. So remember to be kind to yourself.
Yeah. There's always an avenue to do that.
Yes.
I mean, some people, whether it's therapy, whether it's friends, family, whether it's some artistic endeavor,
or some
flowers, exercise, there's always an avenue to explore the beauty inside of you. And the beauty, remember, the beauty includes the pain and the mistakes. That's important to acknowledge.
Yes, absolutely.
So, anyway, thanks you guys for listening to this episode of the Kind Culture podcast. We hope that this was an encouraging little gift on Monday for you all. And
I know.
At the very least, we can all think about ways to better ourselves and to be more kind to those around us and ourselves.
Absolutely. And of course, you can be kind and subscribe to our channel.
Subscribe to YouTube. Follow us on all the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, SoundCloud, all of them. All
of them. Also, don't forget to to share, and just spread these messages of kindness. Of our podcast, of others. And we appreciate you. Also, remember that we're on a Patreon. If you want to be receiving these videos before everybody else, you can sign up on our Patreon and be on our fan. And please don't forget to send us stories of kindness that we can incorporate in our Angels on Earth program. It's at the end of each episode, and we will be highlighting those amazing stories. Stay tuned.